Today I'm talking to the moms watching this. I'm going to say something that may be hard to hear, but it's very important. Maternal anxiety is a key factor that's harming children. It's not intentional, it's not malicious, but the choices that moms make as a result of anxiety directly lead to the outcomes that they fear. I'm Dr. Johann, clinical psychologist. I've worked with hundreds of young people, and I've seen how anxious moms, good mothers who really love their children, make choices that are deeply harmful to their children and have disastrous consequences. Today, we're going to talk about the impact of maternal anxiety on children and what you can do instead. Here's the pattern. Your daughter's upset because she doesn't have Instagram. She's crying. All her friends have it. She feels like she's going to be left out. And you see her suffer and it makes you suffer. That's natural. And it's even good to feel that empathy. But then the problem occurs. You give in. You give her the social media. You give her Instagram. You give her the smartphone. It stops the tears. It stops the conflict. It makes her feel better in the moment. But here's the problem. There's a trade-off between the short-term comfort in the moment with her long-term well-being. Within weeks and months, you notice that you start to lose your daughter. She becomes more isolated. She becomes lonelier, ironically, more depressed, more anxious. She may even develop something more serious like an eating disorder, or maybe even questioning her sexual identity based on what she's seen on social media. These are true stories that I've heard from moms after talks that I've given. Or here's another version. You're worried about your son's physical safety. What if he gets kidnapped? What if he gets lost? What if he can't contact me? What if I can't contact him? Or my favorite one, what if there's a school shooter? So you give him a phone for safety, for protection, for comfort. And within weeks, he's been exposed to pornography. Within months, he has pornography addiction. This is going to last years, probably decades. It's going to affect his marriage. It's going to affect his relationship with his wife and his children and the way he sees women all around him. But moms feel safer because they can track their child's physical location at any time. Let's look at the actual numbers on physical danger because I researched this myself. If a child wanted to be kidnapped, he'd have to wait until he's 700,000 years old. It's more likely to be struck by lightning. It's more likely to be born as a conjoined twin than to be kidnapped. Physical dangers are overemphasized, whereas digital dangers are underemphasized. So an ironic twist here is that the smartphone actually makes them more likely that they will be in physical harm. What is the number one cause of death for young people? It's accidents. The irony here is that when a child has a smartphone in his hand, he's more likely to suffer physical harm. Why? What is the leading cause of death for children? One of them was accidents in general, but one of them is car accidents, motor vehicle accidents. This is much more likely to happen when there's a smartphone in that child's car. In addition to accidents, the other main cause of death in young people is suicide, unfortunately. What leads to suicide? Depression. What leads to depression? We know that depression levels have doubled and tripled since 2010, since the smartphone came out, since social media for smartphone came out. Smartphones, toxic screen use directly contribute to depression, which directly contributes to suicide. Anxious moms give their children a smartphone to protect them from a digital danger that's very unlikely to happen, while at the same time directly contributing to the harm of their mental health and physical well-being. I want to be clear, maternal anxiety does exist for a reason. It's not a bad thing in itself. It has a purpose, and it's very protective when a child is very young. Typically, the dads are much more daring, and that might actually lead to harm in the baby. Moms are much more protective and nurturing. That's very positive. It becomes a problem when the child gets older and older and that protective attitude remains. It's also a problem when we're facing circumstances that are not natural, like the invention of toxic screen use, which we're not naturally equipped to be able to handle. Another way of looking at it is the problem isn't the anxiety, but the problem is that the anxiety is misdirected. Tech companies know that this is the way to get people to buy their products. So they pitch technology, smartphones as safety devices. News media know that fear-based content gets clicks. That's why they publicize it so heavily. And that's what leads to this highly exaggerated sense of physical danger that people have. If one thing bad happens in Nebraska, everyone in the US can hear about it almost immediately. And of course, children have learned that they can get their parents to do what they'd like by influencing their parents' emotions. It may not be an intentional form of manipulation. In some cases, it may be, but in either case, it works. In either case, the anxiety is being used against you to make you hand your child a weapon. I realize it's hard. I actually specialize in treating anxiety, and I love working with anxious moms because they're very good students. They can get better very quickly if they know the right strategies. I understand you're probably exhausted, overwhelmed. You're trying to do what is best for your child, and you're facing a lot of pressure. They're also very sensitive to peer pressure, not wanting to look like a bad parent, which is understandable. So this could be a little bit painful to hear, but my message is one of hope that it's okay to feel anxious. You can feel anxious and you can still do the right thing for your child. And that will give you an even better feeling, which is one of fulfillment, of true love, doing what's best, even when it's difficult. By doing so, you are modeling a crucial life skill to your children, which is, again, the ability to do what is good, even in the face of discomfort. That's what your daughter needs more than social media. That's what will raise her own confidence and self-esteem and give her that countercultural verve to be able to do what is good, even when no one else around her is. That's what's going to help your son. That confidence that you model to him will actually increase his ability to operate through life safely, rather than having to look at the phone as a safety device. You're also making life much easier on yourself by showing your children that you're not going to cave to their whims. You're not going to cave because of negative emotions. And that'll help you with every difficult decision you have to make with your children. Do you want to model to your children the example of someone who caves to peer pressure, to fear from others, who is not willing to be countercultural, who's communicating a message that the world is dangerous and you can't handle it? Or do you want to model to them the example of a resilient matriarch, someone with intergenerational impact, someone who provides support and confidence that the others around her can lean on? Your child needs you to be a true friend, not a buddy. Your child needs you to be a leader, not a peer. This is the Mulier Fortis describing Proverbs, a strong woman who can find. Her worth is beyond limit. This is the woman who will be remembered for generations, who will impact hundreds, maybe thousands of souls, who will raise children who become saints. You can be that woman. Now let's talk about the real sources of danger. 93% of boys and 63% of girls are exposed to pornography before the age of 18, mostly through smartphones. 30% of children see pornography during the school day. Average age of first exposure is 11 years old, sometimes younger. Since 2010, suicide has doubled. 95% of US teens have a smartphone, and the average entertainment screen time usage is 8 hours and 39 minutes a day. That's entertainment only, not including screen use for schoolwork, which means that for most students, they're spending 75% of their waking lives staring at a screen. We're also just talking about average screen use. About half of young people are spending even more time than that. 46% endorse being on the internet almost constantly. These are the real threats worth protecting your children from. It is hard to do this alone. That's why I recommend find a family that's like-minded in this area, who can support you and whose children can be friends with your children, to get rid of some of that negative peer pressure that they're facing with other children. Bottom line, do what is good for your child, not just what is easy, not just what is comfortable, not what just feels good, but what is truly good. And that is compatible with being anxious. You can be anxious and you can choose the good. That is the message of freedom that we should all be aware of. It's a message of acceptance and commitment therapy. Some people will benefit from professional help. There are very good resources out there online, free resources, paid resources for professional help. If you need that route, go seek it out. It'll make your life better. It'll make the lives of people around you better as well, but it's not always necessary. I've seen mothers make this shift. It's so wonderful. I'm going to read a testimony right now that really warms my heart. This is from one of the moms that attended a previous talk of mine. We shut our 15-year-old daughter's Gab phone down just before spring break at her grandparents', 5 hours away from friend. At first, she was beside herself, extremely upset, yelling at us even. Her father told her this is unacceptable, so she avoided him, but complained to me. After a week, she is talking with me without being upset, being kinder to her siblings, looking us in the eyes again, less isolated in her room, and more pleasing to be around. It will be challenging to keep these kids healthy, talking on phones instead of texting, but I'm up for the challenge, knowing it's in their benefit. What a beautiful testimony. What a great example of a resilient matriarch She gave me permission to share that, by the way. That was, again, inspired by a talk I gave. I love speaking on this topic to church groups, schools, other parent communities. If you want me to speak to your group, reach out. My contact is below in the show notes, and you can also download my free digital guide. Take care.